Hello and welcome to Animation Essays Podcast. I'm Julia Smuts Louw, and this month I'm chatting to Michael Rose, co-founder of Magic Light Pictures and producer of Revolting Rhymes, one of this year's Academy Award nominees in the Best Animated Short category. Starring Tamsin Greig, Dominic West and many others, the film was animated between Magic Light Berlin and our own Triggerfish here in the Cape. It's since picked up a stunning slew of awards, including a BAFTA and an Annie. Michael Rose's other credits include 2001's highly awarded hit feature for Aardman and DreamWorks, Chicken Run. Along with his partner at Magic Light, Martin Pope, he produced the 2009 film adaptation of Julia Donaldson's classic kids book, The Gruffalo. Michael chatted to us about understanding audience and why he believes in trusting your gut instinct.
We were really fortunate at Magic Light to get the rights to Roald Dahl's wonderful book of reimaginings of classic fairy tales. And we took 5 of them and mashed them up into 2 films and have a lot of fun with them. And they've been going all around the world. And I think they're shortly to be on in South Africa.
Oh, on Showmax, yes.
Showmax, thank you. I've forgotten that. Yeah, they're going on Showmax in March.
And what was the process like working with the Roald Dahl estate? Because it's quite sort of hallowed ground across the world and in Britain specifically.
It was very, very long, slow process. I mean, the Dahl estate are very protective of all things Dahl. That's their job. They only allowed 2 projects to be made for 2016, which was the 100th anniversary of Dahl's birth, his centenary year. One was Steven Spielberg's BFG movie, and the other one was our Revolting Rhymes project. So it was an incredible honour to be allowed to work on a Dahl project. And then we consulted with them very widely, showed them the work in progress. They really loved what we were doing, and they've been incredibly complimentary about it ever since it was finished.
They've presumably been approached quite a few times. So was it something specific about the vision you pitched, or did they feel the timing was right for this project, or was it the company's track record?
I think partly our track record that we've been doing sort of high quality event Christmas special films for a number of years, so they'd seen those and knew what we did. They also liked our take and our approach. And the book actually hadn't been done. It's one of the... it was a title that had always been reserved for... I think they reserved it for charitable use. But they liked our take on it and kind of went with that.
And how do you go about choosing a project like that to gun for? Is it just a question of casting a wide net? Or is it something that you go, gee, I really love this and I'm going to fight for it until my last breath?
It's hard to say because there's quite a lot of gut instinct. We have to have these projects are so complex, they take so long that we have to kind of really feel passionate about them. So it's something I discuss a lot with my producing partner Martin Pope. We set up Magic Light Pictures together back in 2003. And we think carefully about what sort of project could work on Christmas Day on BBC, what could be a real event, what's that thing which the whole family will sort of sit together to watch. And they have to be quite sort of substantial titles. So a brand like Roald Dahl or our other films, Gruffalo and so on, come from the authors Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler, who are a sort of standalone the sort of children's picture book author team brand now in the UK and rapidly in the rest of the world. And
was this a difficult one at all in terms of, Roald Dahl's quite beloved because he's so sort of deliciously naughty, and was this a stumbling block at all in terms of dealing with?
I think that's the appeal that Dahl is the great storyteller for kids, and he never talks down to kids. What we really liked about the stories in the book was the Dahl voice, the voice of the narrator, who sort of starts off, you think you know these stories, you don't. The real ones are much more gory. And we wanted to play with that, play with the relationship of the narration to what you see on screen. But we made a family films which have 3 shootings and 2 beheadings in them, which I think is quite sort of unique in the family world of family filmmaking.
Yeah, how did you treat of those very gory moments?
We were really careful. We working with 2 brilliant directors, Jacob Shu and Jan Lachauer, and a 3rd director, Bin Han-to, who really are incredible talents. And they, Jacob and Jan, evolved the stories originally, but from the start we wanted to find a way to deal with the gory bits that was kind of comedic but but also didn't sort of shy away from them. And so the whole stylistic approach of the film is that you have a frame story where a wolf is telling a tale which is revealed at the end as to why he's telling it, which is a sort of almost real world setting, albeit highly stylized, and then you go into almost a stage set world where the tales take place. And so we kind of tried to create some distance from things like beheadings and shootings.
By putting it in a slightly more stylized world.
Yeah, but it's Red Riding Hood and, they're going to be shootings.
So Jan and Jakob, who you'd worked with previously on Christmas specials, both hailing from Germany, how did it end up that you chose those two directors to helm the project?
Well, Jakob had, I always call him Jacob, I know the German version is Jakob. Jacob, we had worked with him first on the Gruffalo,
That's right.
which he directed together with Max Lang, and it was then produced at the Studio Soy in Ludwigsburg, Germany, which is a studio that Jacob set up a number of years before. Gruffalo has been a fantastic success, since it first came out in 2009, and Jacob is a really amazing talent who's got an ability to both grapple with story and think about story in a very rich, imaginative way, but also is a fantastic artist and can imagine great visual worlds. So when it came to Dahl, there was a very complex task to take these 6 stories. In fact, we used 5 of the 6 and translate them into 2 half-hour films. But also, we wanted to use Quentin Blake's illustrations, which are so iconically connected with Dahl's writings, and bring those to animation. And just as we just originally gone to Jacob to bring Axel Scheffler's illustrations to life in the Gruffalo in 3D, so we wanted to bring Quentin Blake to life in a totally sort of new, innovative way.
Yeah, it's quite a hard task to turn those watercolors into 3D.
It was and it is, but I think we found, I think they really found a way to do it. And although, if you know Blake, you see the characters in the film, you think yes, they're very Blakean, but equally it's not 2D illustrative world of Blake. We're in 3D,
and still sort of manages to preserve that handmade quality, which has become, I think, one of the hallmarks of your work.
Hopefully so, yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's got it's great texture to it, great charm. And Jan, we had worked with on Room on the Broom, which he co-directed with Max Lang, also which we made at Studio Soy in Ludwigsburg, and of course Jacob and Jan knew each other very well, and so right from the start of the project, Jacob and Jan teamed up, and they really evolved the story together, the look, the design, did the pilot and so on. So it was very much it was a completely joint effort. And so we did all the design, storyboarding, preparation, and all the upfront work at our studio in Berlin. And then when it came to animation, we felt our schedule was incredibly ambitious, and we sort of recognised quite early on that we'd bitten off more than we could chew, and therefore we started talking with Triggerfish to come on board as a second studio, and we did half the animation at Triggerfish, half in Berlin, half at Triggerfish, and then all the lighting, rendering, compositing of the films was done in Triggerfish as well.
You talked a little bit earlier about following your instincts. When it comes to choosing projects, how did that kind of guide you in terms of working with production partners as well and choosing who you work with?
Very much the same. It's based purely on instinct.
Oh, really?
And if you sit in a room and like people, you want to work with them, and if you don't like them, you don't want to work with them. It is that simple. They've got to be able to deliver what you want. So Triggerfish, we made 3 films, 3 half-hour specials with Studio Soy, and then Studio Soy started actually getting very involved with the World of Gumball production, and so when it came to making Stickman, which is our 4th film based on the works of Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler, we started looking for a new studio, and I'd had conversations with Triggerfish over the years. As they were starting to make Zambezia and then again Kumba, they're 2 remarkable feature films, and just sort of friendly conversations about script and ideas and so on. But when we were looking for a new studio for Stickman, we thought actually this is a studio that's made 2 full-length CGI feature films on a very sort of low budget, but achieving incredible quality of look, CGI. And so Martin Pope and I came on a sort of speculative visit to Cape Town, had a great time, went to the vineyards with Triggerfish, drank some wine, and then signed on the dotted line. It was that simple.
Yeah, so that's all it takes.
Then you open the box and find out. They said to us they had some render farm or something. We thought, that sounds good.
That sounds bucolic.
Good. That sounds bucolic. We sort of started working with Triggerfish, hopefully, and had a great time. This is the film that we're making at the moment is now our 4th production with them. And we found them a really great studio to work with, not just, I think, in terms of the quality of what they do, but the integrity with which they do it, which is really important. And I think there's just a studio-wide desire to keep pushing the quality in each project, to kind of make it better, do it better, find new ways of doing things. That desire to keep pushing quality is something that very much matches Martin and my philosophy at Magic Light Pictures. So I think Triggerfish has that mentality, and the other thing here is that they built up the studio in a very, I think, careful way, hiring really good people, enthusiastic people, motivated, talented crew, growing them, and it just seems to be a very well-run studio.
Yeah, I'm interested that this comes up a lot, at very senior levels of the business, that people will still tell you just trust your gut when it comes to people. That's you have to gel with someone, because if you don't, you're in a very long-term relationship, potentially years in animation, and whatever you felt first is likely to be your parting ways as well.
I think that's absolutely right, and it's a very long, complex journey. Productions are always difficult; things always go wrong. That's to be expected, and so you have to be able to be working with people you trust is everything, but B, really like, because when things do go wrong, then you've got a kind of common language to work it out, and I think where things have gone wrong for us at Magic Light, or any time really in my career over the years, is when perhaps I didn't trust my gut at all.
So that's interesting. Perhaps we should take a step back there and talk a little bit about your background, pre-animation days even. So you studied history, and then, if I remember correctly, your first movie-related job was as a projectionist. Is that right?
It was. Well, it's not far off the truth. Yes, that's sort of dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I studied history, and then, but I always wanted to make films. And I struggled to get into the film business in England. This was in the 1980s, and I saw a little advert to run a cinema in Plymouth in the west of England. Had 73 seats, and it was in an art centre. And I thought, well, that sounds great. And Plymouth's near the sea, and
all right, running a cinema, slightly more prestigious.
And I thought, well, I could choose all the films and sort of put on what I liked, as long as I didn't lose money. So it was a really great opportunity. It wasn't, of course, about production, but I did learn a lot about audience, because when you've had to pick a film, book it, in those days you had to get a print, to arrive. You had to sort of thread it through the projector, which I did once or twice, but we had professionals.
You had people for that.
Sell the tickets, do the marketing, and then no one turns up. And you're showing it to a nearly empty house, and that has happened to me. In fact, I've had it where no one turned up at all, and you just didn't run the film. But it really teaches about audience, and so I learned very early on that really there's no point making something if no one watches it.
Yeah.
And it sounds very obvious and true.
Well, in Europe, they get away with it quite a lot.
They get away with it a huge amount. But it's something that's really driven me ever since. Is always about when we make something, who is it for? Who's going to watch it? Where are they going to watch it? How are they going to watch it? And I do think it's a good thing to keep in mind. And
then your partner, Martin Pope, also, he kind of started as a PA. Is that right?
So Martin had took a different trajectory. So he started working on productions, and then joined BBC Films, and kind of worked his way up from and sort of
I think he was an assistant to Faye Dunaway at one point.
He was, I think he was an assistant to Faye Dunaway on a set and brought her tea. Was his great claim to fame.
Yeah, it doesn't get
amazing,
better than that. Until the Oscars.
Until the Oscars, but he could say I knew her when she was, when she was younger, and worked his way up, and then became a producer at BBC Films, and then set up his own company, Martin Pope Productions, and made a number of wonderful award-winning films like The Lawless Heart and then Touch of Pink and The Heart of Me. And meanwhile, I'd after a number of years running cinemas, I went off and worked at Channel 4 Television in England as a buyer, not of animation, not of films, but actually of television programmes. So I was scouting for TV programmes from around the world, and learned a lot about the business that way. But I had stayed involved with animation because when I ran cinemas in Bristol at the end of the 1980s, I got involved with the British Animation Festival, which we hosted in, and so I suddenly got immersed in animation for the first time. Really fell in love with it as a medium and as a way of telling stories. After Channel 4, I joined Aardman as head of development, and I was lucky enough to get in there when they were just a very small company, and so I was able to sort of learn producing there and so forth.
And so at Aardman, one of your big successes was Chicken Run.
Yeah, so I first was producer on Nick Park's Half Hour from a Close Shave.
Yeah.
And then I set up their feature film division, and the first picture we did was Chicken Run.
That was also quite a sort of lightning in a bottle production.
That was, we were then, no one had made an animated feature film in Britain for years and years and years, and no one made a stop motion feature film in Britain for many, if at all, for many decades. So we were really inventing the wheel. But the thing about Aardman was that they really were making films for an audience. And the great thing about Peter Lord and Nick Park at Aardman was they had sort of seized animation as a way of telling stories. And the mantra at Aardman is the one that I followed and still believe in today, is animation is just a technique. It's not an end in itself, it's a way of telling stories, and you're only as good as your story you're telling. And Nick Park, of course, was the genius of this when he made Wrong Trousers, he made Creature Comforts, a short film first, but then Wrong Trousers. You felt, here was someone just who was an incredibly gifted storyteller. So when it came to making our first feature film, we wanted to ensure that it would play the world. We didn't want to just make it for a small audience at an animation festival somewhere. We wanted it to play the world. And this was in the mid-1990s. And really, to do that, you had to work with a Hollywood studio. So we then spent a couple of years sort of trying to navigating through Hollywood to set up the best arrangements for Chicken Run.
Did Nick Park's sort of genius, I think, plays very well here. Was Wallace and Gromit's successful in America, and did it was it a good easy sell there? That style.
I don't think it was an easy sell, but it played really well. I mean, it started airing on PBS television in the States and got a great following on sort of particularly on the West Coast and East Coast. And then there was just a number of sort of happy accidents. There was a time when Nick Park was on a publicity tour of New York, and he left the Wallace and Gromit models, which he always carried around with him, in the back of a taxi.
Oh, gosh.
And that became a huge story. Wallace and Gromit lost in New York as a Crocodile Dundee story, and it went all around the American newspapers. And suddenly, so Wallace and Gromit did really take off in the States.
And then your pitch of Chicken Run, I seem to recall the story was you told Spielberg that it was the Great Escape with chickens. Is that right? That's
right. We had the pitch, Nick and Pete's pitch for Chicken Run was the Great Escape with Chickens, and they worked up a
high concept.
It was very high because they worked up a one pager of this idea, which was very embryonic in those days. And we went to LA to sort of pitch it around the studios, and one of the meetings was a dinner with Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberg, and we met them in this restaurant, and we sat down, and in that very Hollywood way they start sort of saying what the best thing is, and that everyone's got to have it, and before you know it, they've ordered it, and it happened to be that they said, well, you've got to have the chicken here. The chicken is the greatest thing in this restaurant. Everyone's having the chicken. We're all having the chicken. Waiter, the chicken. So chicken was brought, and then they said to Nick, right, tell us your idea, and he starts pitching the Great Escape of Chickens as we're sort of munching on a bit of wing.
I don't know if that's morbid or serendipitous.
Serendipitous.
Oh, good. Yeah. So you did a talk a little while ago at Westgrow, and I kind of got the impression overall that your advice on features would be the best way to make an independent feature is don't. Is this something that you kind of advise with caution to people who have a completely different funding environment?
Well, I was talking about animated feature films.
That's true.
So that's I think it's an important distinction. I think it depends who you're talking to. They are very, very difficult, but anyone making films always dreams of making feature films.
Yeah. It's hard to get away from once the bug is bitten.
Once the bug's bitten, and you sort of also have to follow your dreams and go for it if that's what you want to do. But it is very difficult, and I do think the question you have to ask is, who is the market for my film? Who is the audience for my film? Who's going to watch it? Where are they going to watch it? When are they going to watch it? And if you can answer those questions and you can make something at a cost which is sort of commensurate to its potential audience and market. Then why not? But that's quite a difficult thing to do. Animated feature films for families family audiences are really difficult because you've got the studios in the States pumping out films now, many more
at $100 million a piece.
Yeah, many more than when we at Aardman tried to get in 20 years ago. So it's very, very competitive, and there are more and more movies being released in cinemas. Generally, I think there are like 28 films released a week in the UK. I mean, Triggerfish is a shining example of making two really superb animated feature films on lowish budgets, comparatively low budgets, and getting them seen and getting them around the world now, which is hugely impressive.
I think for Triggerfish, as for you guys, diversifying the business model has been a big part of that. And you guys, with Martin's live action background, also seem to have a very diverse slate.
We were interested in doing things in our early years. I mean, basically telling stories and also reaching family audiences. So whether that storytelling was done through a romantic comedy, live action drama, or through a wildlife documentary, or it was whatever was the best way to do it. But we have increasingly shied away from feature films because, as an independent production company, they're very time consuming, they're very difficult to get off the ground. If you get them off the ground, you usually have to defer your fees. You start off with 100 pages of high quality recyclable paper, your script, which you own outright, you own all the rights in it. By the time you get to the start to make the film, or even by the time you've finished it, you've lost all control over that. Usually the rights are in the hands of financiers, and we found it very frustrating compared to the model of making films for television, where we were able to finance them ourselves, control the rights, control the marketing. It's the classic animators control syndrome. We get to control everything, but then we get to put them out to the audience in the way we'd like it to be done.
And then one of the kind of big successes that's come with these Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler properties has been the licensing and merchandising, especially I think you've got sort of endless ideas when it comes to the Gruffalo particularly.
We're very lucky. We got the rights to the Gruffalo, and we always wanted to build it into a sort of high quality children's brand, and we felt that would be the foundation of a sustainable film business. So from the start, our plan was really to build Gruffalo in that way, and we not only set out to make high quality films around it, but also to build a merchandising program. So now we have, I think, 40 licensees, 300 products or so, mainly in the UK, but growing in Germany and other parts of the world.
And you were nominated for another BAFTA for the interactive app, is that right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
So this year we had a nomination for Revolting Rhymes, which we won, and also for our for Gruffalo Spotter app, which was an AR app we did in partnership with the Forestry Commission. The Forestry Commission controls, I think, 9 or 11% of the land of the UK.
That's right.
England, Wales, and we have a long partnership with them, with the Forestry Commission and Gruffalo. So there are 27 Gruffalo trails and 27 forests around the country, and so families and kids can go on these trails, and at the centre of them are big giant Gruffalo carvings. So we created this app where you stop at markers along the way and the snake comes to life, the fox comes to life.
With augmented reality.
Yeah, and it's been great fun and very successful. And it's partly, I think, our overall mission with Gruffalo is to make it accessible to families. So the great thing about Forestry Commission trails is they're free, and the app is free. So anyone can have a day out with the Gruffalo for free.
Do you sit down at the beginning of your process with merchandising in mind and generates a lot of ideas like this, or is it something that kind of grows as the technology grows and as new licensees come on board?
It's a careful process. I mean, you start off with a plan, and we started off small, and then in success it's grown, and we add things to it. We spent a lot of time turning down proposals because part of our desire is to create in Gruffalo a character will be still here in 50 years' time, sort of like classic Winnie the Pooh or Beatrix Potter or something, or Paddington.
Yeah.
And therefore you have to be very careful with the decisions you make in the short term. It's very easy to blow a property or a brand by bringing out something naff or wrong or going to the wrong partnership with someone. So we try to look for, and this is back to the gut instinct, we look for long-term partners, people who love the property, who support what we do, and try and work with people on a long-term basis.
Is there something about, because I love the way the forest trails kind of fits with the DNA of Gruffalo, and it also feels like the same sort of almost homespun, territory. Is it part of your approach to make sure everything stays within like that kind of brand universe?
Absolutely. So we're extremely hands-on. We approve every product. We work very closely with licensees and retailers. We look at marketing plans. So we're very, very hands-on in brand management. For us, that's the heart of it, is to make sure that everything that's done in the name of the Gruffalo fits the kind of world of Gruffalo. And as much as possible, we try and take stuff back to the Julia Donaldson Sheffield storybook. That's the foundation of what we do. And we really want anyone who experiences the Gruffalo, whether it's in a film or a product or going to the Chessington theme park or a forest.
You've got your own ride now, don't you?
You've got your own ride.
That's pretty...
But the point is, however anyone experiences Gruffalo, you want it to match their experience of reading the book in terms of quality and integrity and story, but in a different medium.
So with something like Highway Rats, which was last year's Christmas special.
Yes.
And played to, I think you're at almost 8 million people.
7.7 million over Christmas on BBC One. Yeah.
Do you look at something like that and then would you proactively say we're going to make Highway Rat the next Gruffalo, or do you kind of wait to see what's sticking?
No, well, actually, I think very few things do become brands, and very few things are able to become successful in merchandising. It's a very crowded market. So it's more that with something like the Highway Rat or Stickman, that it's about, we see them as really supporting the world of Gruffalo. They're different films, different stories, but they're part of, when they come out at Christmas, the retailers are excited by the noise and the publicity that's around them. It helps encourage them to stock product. And then we do a few lines of merchandise around each new property, and in success one of them might break out. You never know, but it's not something we would bank on. And
so for a feature, if you did another one, you wouldn't be starting out with, something like the Minions. It's very clear that you start out with a toy in mind, and then the film comes second. Would that make it a safer proposition if it was very merchandisable?
I don't know that you can ever predict a merchandising success. I think many people try, and it's a bit like saying that my next TV series is going to be Peppa Pig. It's really hard. I think all you can do is try and make something that you think and believe will be appealing for the audience, that will connect with the audience.
It's kind of like in marketing where they ask you a client asks you to produce a viral video.
Okay, yes.
You're like, great, I'd love to,
I'd love to produce viral.
Tell me how.
I think it's really, I think if you set out to create a viral video, you end up chasing the past.
Yeah.
And actually what you need to do is invent the future. And it's about coming up with the new and the original. And that often happens in surprising ways. Stickman, for example, we never dreamed that a stick would be something kids wanted as a plush toy.
I recall you only made 300 originally or something in the anticipation.
It was a few more, 30,000, 30,000. Anyway, there was a run on them.
It had a 3 in it.
and how they still fly off the shelves.
That's amazing.
That kids want a plush stick doll to play with. But that's not something you can predict, And still, whilst Stickman actually is popular and is growing as a sort of property, it's still very early days.
I remember when Julia Donaldson visited as well.
Yes.
I kind of asked, how did you come up with the idea for the Gruffalo? And she gave a very long-suffering sigh because she was obviously very tired of being asked.
Yeah.
And I think the story goes that it was originally going to be a tiger and then metamorphosed into this other creature, which is also just a happy accident. I mean, obviously it's genius as well, but it's one of those things where once the success is there, it seems so inevitable.
That's right, and there's nothing inevitable about it. There's a lot of, and also I do believe in the role of luck, and serendipity. I think you need a bit of good fortune, but you need the ability to sort of know when it's happening and spot it and go with it. The Gruffalo was a really successful book when we got the rights. It was really a modern classic.
And you were not the first by a long shot to pitch.
Lots of people let us know. We were up against studios and all kinds of people for it. So it was a series of bake-offs, really. We got down to the last round, and then we were lucky enough that she chose us. So I always feel very fortunate, really. I don't sort of take any of it for granted. And I think the moment you start to get either cocky or complacent is when the red warning lamps should start, the sirens should start going off.
You were talking a little bit last night about trying to avoid, the overwhelming hype that comes with an Oscar nomination. Do you feel there's almost too much emphasis on that period for the industry, and you're sort of done and ready to move on by then?
Look, I think industry awards of any kind are fantastic accolades and great reward for everyone involved, and
especially when you're getting so many of them.
Yeah, we're very, very, very lucky. And so I think it's all, you never say no to an award. but at the end of the day, if I made something that only won awards and didn't get an audience, I'd be really disappointed. And I've never really wanted to produce things just to win awards. What it really excites me is getting them seen, knowing that it's on a centrepiece of the Christmas schedule on BBC One television that the whole family can watch together. There's something really exciting about that. It's also a great responsibility, and I think with the Donaldson Sheffield films, with Gruffalo, Stickman, or Higher Up, you're taking books that are really hugely loved, and I think there's a great responsibility there to get it right.
Or even if something wasn't based on a book, but just the fact that whatever you watch when you're a kid is formative.
Yes. And
something even that I might think is an innocuous title of the 28 movies that come out every week. For kids, that will be sort of one of the seminal experiences of their 6 years of life or whatever they've had. Do you turn to kids for opinions before you release? Do you have any?
No,
kids?
never.
Is that a tactical decision or just a limitation of the schedule?
It's a limitation of the schedule, and by the time it's good enough in good enough shape to show a classroom and say what do you think, it's too late to make real changes. So we kind of follow our instincts.
Oh well, for better or worse.
For better or for worse.
I liked it.
Over the cliff we go. Yeah.
For studios who want to get to the point where they can attract projects like yours, which are some of the best projects we've had in this country, what would you say are our, if you had to do a SWOT analysis, or maybe just the S?
Right. Yes.
Maybe the S and the W.
I think that it strikes me that South Africa has a growing animation industry with a huge amount to offer. I think probably it needs more kind of pump priming, and I hope the government might do more to support it by encouraging short films or training programs or whatever can be done to encourage up and coming talent to kind of hone their craft.
So if we had to look at what we need to concentrate on as an industry,
to the extent I know about what's made here in South Africa in terms of animation, I think it's probably focused on storytelling and story skills, and the more that's done in terms of writing, storyboarding, kind of the better, because that's the heart of it. At the end, there's Triggerfish and other studios that can make animation, but it's using the animation to tell stories that will play the world that's the key.
I'm sure some of us will be awake in the early hours on the 5th of March to see if Revolting Rhymes nabs that Oscar. We hope your other plans for the weekend include a stop at the Cape Town International Animation Festival, coming to the River Club between 2 and 4 March. Here you'll also be able to catch the African premiere of The Highway Rats, Magic Light and Triggerfish's most recent collaboration. Don't forget, Animation SA members get a discounted festival pass at just 100 Rand. I'm Julia Smuts Louw, thanks for listening.